Hello there, girls. I've got a juicy topic today, and I've been considering over the weekend what to bring you today. And it's a lot of things, but I want to narrow it down to you're all here because you want to create change into your future. And I was considering this over the weekend. I had a big cleanup, like I'm a potter, I'm a painter, and I had some real quiet time. And then I was also cleaning out, I cleaned all of my tools that for my pottery. I recycled some clay. I threw out some old jars of oxides and just got rid of the past, that old energy where things were looking like they needed to be brought up to date. And with what I did yesterday and working on some ongoing projects that were incomplete, what I was processing during that time, and it was real therapy, because it's like doing all of that, getting rid of the old, tidying up, getting my hands dirty, hands in the bucket of clay, putting new clay in the bucket to be recycled, bringing the incomplete projects to the table and going, whoa, it's time. They've been sitting around long enough without attention. I'm going to complete them. And I felt at the end of that, my energy, I felt light, I felt more confident. And it was just, it's like clearing neglect, clearing where there's dust. So what I want to talk about, that brings me to what I was meditating on over the weekend for you girls. It's quite a mystery, this whole trip about being a business owner, working for yourself, not working for yourself as a job, but working for yourself to create a new future as an entrepreneur where there's a lot more responsibility. So I was thinking about all this, and it's all very well. You've got to have goals and you've got to have a talent of solving clients' problems, learning a lot of new things. And then I was thinking really more deeply about all of this, because most people don't achieve their goals. And I thought about this, and I believe the reason, this leads me into talking to you about giving you a deeper look into my past, to give you some reality around what you might have to do to get the results you want. So it's not saying you can't. You can have whatever you want, but it comes at a price. So it's really an interesting thing. One of my favorite scriptures, and I'm not religious, but one of my favorite scriptures is from the book of Romans, where it says, you've got to be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And you'll hear me preach on that countless times, and that's good, because you need to get it at a deeper understanding. To transform the mind is a very, very big thing. Doesn't mean it has to take long. So I'll give you some insight about how I've been transforming my mind from where I was to where I am now on the journey to what I want, just like all of you are. So my background, I was brought up the youngest of three girls, where there was not much nurture. And I was of that generation where parents taught that, you get married and, just settle for. So during the years of not questioning any of that, I didn't start to question any of that. I was very disgruntled because I was sick of just working jobs and working for employers. So I didn't have a spoon in the mouth upbringing. Nothing was handed to me on a platter, but I had a desire inside. By my 30s, working, I worked in retail for many years. I was a cosmetician, always loved helping my clients. Then I transitioned into more. And more for me was more in business to business, not business to consumer. There was more skill required working business to business. So that was on the platform of working in television, selling airtime wasn't intangible. So I moved from products, girly stuff, French fragrances, cosmetics, skincare, into selling airtime. How freaking intangible is that? That was a big leap. And, but I was a creative thinker always. But the pressure, I didn't have my job. We had targets so high. Every month they were unattainable. There were 2 on the sales team. Targets were ridiculous. We'd have a freak out with the targets we had to meet. So you don't keep your job unless you're selling a lot of freaking airtime to businesses in the community who want to promote their products and services, whether they're plumbers, they lay carpet, they sell cars, whatever. So that was my first transition from retail into sales. And no one taught me. Because no one taught me. Actually, I just realised no one taught me. What a deep dive. And that was an awesome job, and it suited my personality because I love dealing with people. So if you're an introvert and you do not like relationships in business, you're in the wrong space. Or engage me to do your sales. Because if you don't like people and if you're not genuinely interested in people, you won't sell. Aren't I being straight? No coaches spoke to me like that. They should have. They just gave all the glitz and glamour. But one of my services now, because I absolutely love having the transforming conversation, which is a sales conversation. So I'm very serious, and when I make this offer to you right now, girls, in your business, to grow your business, you've got to have people to talk to, and you've got to be able to help people over the line, help them commit to get what they want. So you've got to be able to convert, talking to those prospects. They're not clients until they pay you. Prospects, you've got to be able to convert them and have a high closing rate into paid clients. So if any of you come to a point where you make a decision that you're over it, you want to have your business and you want to have a premium program where you're working with your clients for 8 weeks, 12 weeks or 6 months, but you're no good, or you've made a decision that you're not going to do the sales and it's going to knock you out of the park and you're going to walk away, but you love everything else, but you're not going to do the sales, you can hire me to do just that part, to have those transforming conversations for your prospects, and you pay me a commission. So getting back to and I'm serious about that, because there are coaches who do that. They don't do their own sales. They engage someone on a commission basis who's good at doing what they're not good at and are not going to do it. So getting back to that, so that was the television industry. Then when I recall, another tough industry that I worked in was insurance. And I was so naive. So I went into the insurance as a job, because a lot of jobs bored me, because I liked to be in and out of the office. I didn't like to be stuck like I was a prisoner in one space all the time as an employee. So that was in 1990, and I didn't know that the commissions were being removed and thinned out and taken away. The fat was being trimmed. But I was an insurance agent for 5 years. And so that you understand what I'm talking about, my filing cabinet, when they I paid for an office in that building. My filing cabinet drawers were empty. I didn't buy a register, as they called it in the day. I didn't buy policy holders. I was starting with nothing, absolutely nothing. And so I was so green and so naive, but I was hungry. I was actually hungry, because one of the reasons I applied for that job was because I knew you could make good commission. That's why I did it. Because I was sick of working jobs where they were dictating. I had to go to work every day from 8 till 5. And I was dictated to by an employer how much money I made. So I was really tuning into this whole trip. I was getting really peed off with the whole trip. So that's why I went into the insurance industry. And it was really like my eyes were open big time, because I had no idea how I was going to get clients. I had to learn a lot in the insurance industry. And two of the things I didn't want to touch was financial services. I was not interested. I was always heart-centered. I loved the customer relationship or the client relationship, which started back in retail and then in television. So I didn't want to do general. I wasn't going to be insuring bloody buildings and houses and cars. That bored me. I went, no, I'd do my head in. So, and I wasn't interested in superannuation either. So there were only really 2 products that I believed in. See? There were 2 products that I believed in. And so I really, that belief was embedded in me, and I owned it. But then I had to find a way to get people to speak to and to convert them into clients. Same thing. You're here with your talent and your gifts and your services, but it's the same true. Even if you've got a bottle of cleanser or moisturiser, you gotta have people to talk to. When you're stuck in a shop, you gotta wait for them to come in. So you girls are lucky, because you can be proactive and drive your own ship, not be stuck waiting in, bricks and mortar business, waiting for people to come to you. So in that business, I had to come up with a way to have people to speak to, and I did. See, I'm very creative up here, and that's what you've got to do. If you sit and go, no, that didn't work, or that doesn't work, or that doesn't work, well, it won't, because you believe it. So I had to come up with because I wasn't going to cold call business owners about insurance. Can you imagine? Can you imagine what would have happened? Holy dooly. I would have been abused so much. So I came up with a way. And I would not go into my office Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday until I had done my rounds with my little process. It was a process that I created. And the point of that was to get appointments before I drove my car to the office for the day, to get stuck in admin. So you need to listen to this, because this could be a way for you to get business. If you expect to be invisible and be earning $3,000 and get good clients for doing nothing, you don't deserve it. So it's all about this transforming of the mind. You've got to have what you want. You've got to do what you haven't done before. And you've got to become new versions of yourself that you haven't been before. So, that really grew me. And as I speak to you now and share with you part of my history, this was a big, that's a tough industry, the insurance industry. And then I had to learn, to cut the story down. So the last year of the industry that I was there, in 5 years, they were actually removing the end of the year bonus. So if I didn't get it that year, it was all over Red Rover. I knew I wouldn't be able to buy a house with buying a mortgage, not a house, going to a bank with a small amount of money called a bonus. And back then it was $7,000. If I got the income they said I had to earn by a certain date in December, then at the end of December I got paid a $7,000 bonus, and that's not much, but back in 95 it was a big deal. So how was I going to get that? And it's the same principle that I teach clients today. You got to know what you want, whatever the figure is. No one says you can't. It's whatever figure you want, and then you learn how to reverse engineer that to monthly, into weekly, so that every day you know what you're doing because you're accountable to that activity. So for myself, the goal of getting that bonus wasn't what drove me. And this is what I want to talk about. You got to have a mission. Goals people justify not getting. And if you see the money in itself doesn't really drive you. You've got to have something bigger than the dollar amount, which really is, and for me, it was buying a mortgage. So the goal of achieving that set amount of income by December, which meant the industry was going to pay me the $7,000 end of year bonus for being a good girl because I performed, that actually meant, yes, I reached the goal, but it actually meant I fulfilled my mission, which was I could go to the bank and buy a mortgage to have my home. So that's the thing. If you haven't got a mission, and if you just, oh, that'd be nice. Oh yeah, well, if I have 10 grand, that'd be nice. I can do X. And that's true. But if you haven't, because to get what you want, you do have to do things that you're uncomfortable with, that you've never done before. And you've got to get over yourself. You've got to manage your emotions. So I'm harping on this because it actually is very good training. Like when I was an insurance agent that last year going for that, I had never earned, let me say this, you need to hear this, I'd never earned the amount of income that was required to get the bonus. I'd never earned that much in my life. So did I know I was going to succeed? No, I didn't. Had no idea. I just made a decision. And I kept myself accountable by knowing how much money I had to make. And I broke it down how much a month. And listen to this, girls. In the coaching space, when you get a client, no one's demanded their money back. Hell no. That would be, I wouldn't take someone on if they were going to be that yucky. But what I'm saying is, I'm saying that because in the insurance industry, I don't know if any of you know, but a lot of applicants, you submit their cases and they fall over. So when I was, what does that mean? I should explain. You can spend hours with someone and fill out, all the talking, all the reviewing their insurances, blah, blah. See, I'm thorough. I did the same thing back then. I do business checkups and evaluations now for women because they freaking need it. But back then I did the same thing. I just didn't go in and flog insurance. I'd do a home visit when it was inconvenient for me. My son was at home by himself. I'd be doing a home visit with a so-called policy holder, and it could take 2 friggin' hours going through their trauma cover, their death cover, their this cover, their that cover. Then I'd tailor what was most needed, then have to sell it, then have to fill out all the freaking application, then submit it to the insurance company, and the insurance company could make them go for a medical, could make them pay double the amount for their insurance because they were high risk, because they were obese or smokers or had high risk activities. So guess what? I had to factor that in. If I had have just gone, oh, I've got to make X by the 1st of December and put in every application thinking, oh, I've done my job. No. So I allowed a hell of a lot more because I had many applicants where the insurance company would decline them. So it was all my effort down the chute for nothing. Tear it up in the shredder. So you don't have to deal with that. The coaching space is one of the most wonderful, the counselling and coaching space, when you do your job properly. I just love it so dearly, because to have valuable clients, quality clients who are genuine, like I've been, and you're not going to demand your money back, you're not going to quit on yourself in 2 minutes. So back then, and I had many that fell over, you just don't know what people's secrets are until you start filling out their application on what medications they take, what health problems they've got, a lot of things. And insurance companies are, they don't take on everybody. So I want to tell you that, because that training, for me to get that bonus, that was hard slog, because my son used to ring me at the office and say, oh, Mum, I want to go. Can you drive me? Check your diary. I sacrificed so much when I was raising my son by myself, because he was at home by himself a lot. I didn't have a husband. I was a single mother. And so, how do you think I felt? Because I was doing so many after-hours appointments with these prospects. You don't have that. You're at the comfort of your own home. You need to get your head straight. Women who want to achieve need to realise you don't deserve it unless you roll up your sleeves and become a better human being. I think there's so much on social media that's portrayed that is just so glossy about being a millionaire and oh yes, you can have what you want, just manifest. You've got to have a mission statement. You've got to have a why. And when I was going through my change, it took me years before I learned about what I teach you girls. So the insurance industry, I was in the telecommunications industry, once again, business to business. So, and here's me, I don't like technical, and I was selling all internet services. I had to do fleet mobile plans for businesses. So I wasn't dealing with consumers, it was business to business. And once again, I didn't hold my job if I didn't meet the monthly KPIs that the employer said. So, it's all the same. And that's why it was during that time that I got out of it. I was so up to here working, putting up with catty women in corporate, digging the knife in behind your back, being cats, putting up with a boss and his bad moods and his bipolar and treating his wife bad and lots of things. So it was during that time I just had to make a change, and I still wasn't working for myself so much. I took a job as a counsellor for a mental health organisation, and I had to drive and do a fortnightly circuit and service. That was government funded, where I had to scope the area, build rapport with community leaders, do counselling in certain areas, and do a Beyond Blue yeah, lot of workshops and working with women, and I loved it. I loved empowering women because I got to hear so many things. So that drove me on more and more to want my own business, and so I launched from that into. I actually listen to this. This is a long video. When my mother died, the money that the amount of money that I received from her estate, I actually invested into a personal development business, because that was my launching into really working for myself, doing life on my terms, and the product was personal development, and it was very high end, and the events were conferences that were to take place around the different countries. So yeah, how do you think I felt investing? Because I was brought up where you work hard. That was the mindset of my parents. You work hard, you save, all that gets you nowhere. So when I invested that money, I had there was a lot of weight on me that I would, about losing that, or my sister just about disowned me for doing that and said some dreadful things to me. So long story short, I was achieving in that business, but at the end of the day, I walked away because I couldn't coach my team. And that was my heart. I really wanted to be the change. I wanted to, not for men, because I was such a victim in my growing up and as an employee and in my relationships with men, I was always in ownership to men for money, and I felt like I felt very disempowered around money always. So I made the wrong choices in relationships. That's another story. So when I walked away from that personal development business, I'd learned some things. Quite a lot, but I had guilt because it was my mother's money that I'd invested, to thinking, oh yeah, this is it, I've arrived, this is easy peasy, and I was still back to square one. So how do you think that was? But I had no plan B. I had a lot of stress. I had a lot of inflammation in my body. I had a lot of stress because of that, and I was stuck. I was still not where I wanted to be. I had no idea about business and up here and in here in the heart, and there was a lot I hadn't grown up into. So, investing along the way, I tried to do it for free, tried to grow my coaching business for free, because I'd sold my little cottage by this time and left to live in another location, did my dough, lived on savings. So I was still back at grassroots, a lot older, on my own, no money, no equity to pull from a mortgage to fund my business, to fund me. I didn't have a second car to sell. I didn't have a partner to ask for money, and that's a bad idea anyway. I've learnt you never do that. You take responsibility to get your own money. So I was pretty downhearted and couldn't see a way. A lot of dark times, stressed, lonely, angry, dark times. But the point is, I wasn't going to quit, because I didn't want to become a woman at the end of my life whipping the cat and having regrets. So I was committed, even though I failed so much and I felt inferior, and I missed out on a lot of social events because of this. I didn't have a plan B, because I thought if others, I'm not stupid. I looked at my background, the business to business jobs I'd done. I was very good, obviously. So I couldn't quit, but I didn't have any answers, and there was no one holding my hand. I didn't know what to do. So I'm telling you all this because my mission, you see, I got a mission, and it's come through many years, but from my childhood. But it's, it's my mission. I'll tell you what it is, and I would love to share it. Because my mission is that I'm helping women all over the world improve their lives and their finances. Because that's what women need, to take their power back and to feel fabulous. Not that every day in life is easy, because it isn't, but to be a different person from who you were, because the transforming of the mind, the failure, the tizzy fits, the learning, and you don't learn unless you do. Oh, see these books here, that's great. But you don't, and I used to have shelves of books. Well, I've culled a lot. You don't learn anything unless you apply it. So in growing your business here, if you're not willing to do new things that you haven't, if you think it's all just going to happen magically and everything you say is going to work, you're delusional, because business doesn't happen that way. To become more masterful at things that get results. Only do what gets results, but you've got to know what gets results, and you've got to achieve that first step of what gets you results. So that's where communication and language and how to reach out to people and the different ways in which to reach out to people. I never had marketing money. I do now, but back then I didn't. So to come up with different ways of getting into conversations with potential prospects is one of your biggest activities in a business day. Because once you've got people to speak to, then you can practice the art of sales in the transforming conversation. Or if you decide you're wasting your time, you engage or talk to me about would I consider doing that for you and what my fees are. But they're mainly, because when you're worried and when you're stressed and when you're replaying your old thinking, you tend to get more of that. And yes, you do need to do affirmations. Yes, you do need to have a vision. But I can say from personal experience, girls, in my darkest times, if I had have given more attention to feeling such shit that I did, I would have gone down into a darker place, because I've been in some very dark places. So what I've learned is to have a plan that you tweak and then start doing it, and you keep doing it, and you keep doing it, because you're committed to yourself. Because you never know the day, you never know the moment when your circumstances change. You can't know that when you haven't got the result. You only know when it's happening, and that really is when you're on your edge. So you never get to be on your edge if you don't do what it takes to leave your shit behind. See? There are times when you need, and we all need, really straight talk. None of this airy-fairy bull dust. So that's part of my journey, girls. I love the relationships. I'm a creative thinker. I've become more masterful at communicating. And I've become more in ownership of the responsibility is mine compared to when I was raised. The rubbish around money that was said in my home, and it was rubbish. I've got rid of all of that. Absolutely all of that. If I was still living out of those old paradigms, I wouldn't be even on this video. But I am grateful to my parents for how I'm made. Because in my family, in my lineage of women, I've broken off the old. That oppression, that suppression of women. And I'm not a women's libber. I'm very feminine. But I love the responsibility that I can make decisions and buy myself whatever I want. And those 2 nights I recently had in Noosa with my son and his wife was a ridiculous amount of money. Well, I didn't have to ask anyone's permission for that. I deserve that. I created that. I'm responsible for me and my finances and for the life I'm creating and the changes that I've made. And that all doesn't come easy. And it doesn't come without paying the price. So my mission being, I'm helping women all over the world change their lives, change their finances, because that is my heart. That's why I'm here, to help women. Not to help women give up and walk away. That's BS. That's what the majority of women do. When they believe the glitz and the glamour, that it happens overnight in a snap. For some women it does, but not all. And if it was that way for everybody would have success stories. So I'm the change. I'm radical. And that's what women need. They need someone to teach them the things that they're no good at, to become better. And because you only feel different when you've broken through. It's a lot about breaking through. And I don't care what anyone says. Yes, we all need healings at different times and support and encouragement. But when you get ownership of a certain way of doing something that you are so committed to, that you will not give up, that you're like a dog with a bone, and you won't give up until you get the result, whatever it takes. You've got to be that person, because it doesn't kill you. You're not on the front lines being shot at. You're not having bombs dropped on you. So be very grateful for the opportunity of freedom that you do have. And you don't never know your own potential if you don't go deep within your soul and face your fears and have a plan to help you work through your fears, so that your rudder, your course is set, and you've got your mission, and your goals are the steps to get to that mission. Yeah. So that's my sharing for you for today. That I want to be that encouragement for every woman, because you don't have to miss out. You've only got to learn a few things, actually. And then once you've got that, it's like me. Well, once I got that to that level, now what I've done, I've gone to that next level. But you can't get there without doing like the apprenticeship. So I had to go through all of that, and there's no set time. Some get there really fast. Everyone's situation's so different. Nobody knows. But if you make a decision that you can fail and you're going to fail, you will. But for me to get to the stage where I am now of scaling, I, I'm so grateful that I should say this, I'm so grateful that I didn't give up, because I want to tell you something, girls. When you get to this stage of what I'm doing, I can guide you to the next step. But you can't get that unless you become, you've got to have at least probably 5 to 6 clients at your high-end package. You've got to, and when I say you've got to have them, you have got to have been able to know how to conversate with those prospects to get them over to the line to become clients, and to work with them in, because you learn a lot working with them in 8 weeks or 12 weeks or 6 months. So when you've done that, it's like you've got your stripes, then you can scale. That's when I can get you, not with me, but I'm the stepping stone to get you to what I'm doing, which is a very radical form of new marketing since COVID. And I'm extremely, extremely loving it. So you can either drag it out and have a miserable time, or you can really sacrifice and trim away a lot of shit from your life, excuse me, and just really examine what's holding you up, what's bogging you down, what's standing in your way from getting what you want, and make a decision and come up with a plan and be relentless. Just be relentless. Just like anyone winning the Olympics, they do things that most people won't do. I don't give up. That's how you got to be. But it's you got a lot of freedom within that too. You're not in solitary confinement where you've got no control. You're in total control, because you're creating all the time what you want, or you'll get more of what you don't want if that's what you're giving your attention to. So this has been a long video. So I'd love your feedback, girls. Give me your feedback from this. And if you've got questions from this, put them in the comments.